1400ESPN.com. My name is Andrew Krammer. I want to thank you for joining me for the final report here from Mankato, where the Vikings wrapped up training camp on Thursday. They play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Saturday. Overall, there were 14 practices had. There were some ups, some downs. It ended in a down where Mike Zimmer said it was a terrible practice on Thursday, to a point where he ended up making the entire team run a lap around a goalpost. Took me back to my days in high school football. I haven't seen anything like that in the professional level. Neither has Chad Greenway, who said he hadn't done that since he was in high school. So it was just a point where I think the focus wasn't fully there for the team. They were heading up to Minneapolis right after they finished the walkthrough this afternoon, and then they get a day off tomorrow before playing the game on Saturday at TCF Bank Stadium at that home opener for the preseason. There were some ups, there were some downs at training camp. Obviously, it ended with a down, but some of the ups would have been obviously Anthony Barr, somebody who wasn't able to practice fully throughout most of training camp as he had inflammation in his surgically repaired left knee. He was able to get out there these past few days and get some full teamwork in and full pads. He obviously, conditioning was an issue with him before, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him make his exhibition debut on Saturday against the Buccaneers. We'll see how long he plays, if he does, but the point that he's able to get out there and actually practice now, get some contact, that's good for the Vikings, especially when you have a full month still until the regular season begins. But I want to tell you first and foremost here 3 things that I took away from this training camp practice. One being that Captain Munnerlin's story has been evolving and changing, I guess, in his role with this defense. I found it interesting that they are now trying out Terrence Newman in the slot, something that Newman had done for Mike in the past, but Mike categorized that as a while ago. So it's not something that he's obviously doing very often, but the Vikings have put him into the slot and their 3 cornerback packages with Xavier Rhodes and obviously Trey Waynes, the 11th overall pick, on the other end. Munnerlin, who is entering his second year of a 3-year, $11 million deal, I believe, that was signed in 2014 free agency, he played only Harrison Smith played fewer snaps than Captain Munnerlin last season for this defense. Munnerlin was a big part of what they were trying to do, but the Vikings clearly felt he was somewhat of a liability, and Munnerlin has owned up to some of the mistakes he made last year, trying to maybe go back to what he was doing in Carolina, where he did find a lot of success. But obviously this coaching staff needs 11 guys doing 11 different things, and they can't go off the reservation necessarily and do their own thing. That might have carried on into this offseason, where the Vikings brought a lot of competition in for him, and he was kind of phased out. He missed, obviously, the spring practices with a foot injury. You saw Jabari Price jump in there in the slot for him in May and June. Now Munnerlin's healthy, and he didn't know why he didn't play in Sunday's exhibition opener, and he's not sure if he's going to play in Saturday's game either. I would be surprised if he didn't. I would expect him out there at some point. But the thing is, he heard Mike Zimmer's comment when he said we don't want any 5'9", or we're not going to draft any 5'9" corners, when he said that in May. Munnerlin, being 5'9", took that a little bit personally, and now it's going to be interesting to see how his role develops. It seemed like he was going to be just a nickel-only guy, but now he might just be a depth guy, depending on how they shake out their cornerbacks. The second thing I learned would be Mike Harris seems to be that starting right guard for them. They have pressed forward with him there, giving him a long evaluation. He took all the reps, every single play at right guard during training camp. He's a swing tackle last year. His entire career he's been a tackle. He's a big guy, 6'5", 338 pounds. The biggest thing for him is being able to adjust his weight and playing with the quicker foot speed you need, whether it's pulling or getting on double teams on the big guys on the inside. He's trying to adjust to all that, but the Vikings seem to like that fourth-year guy there instead of some of their rookies like TJ Clemmings or Tyrus Thompson or even Austin Shepard, who they all tried at that spot in the offseason. Those guys have all been in the second team working at guard and tackle and bouncing back and forth. But Harris seems to be the guy that they're pressing forward right now anyway at right guard. And then the third thing I learned is that even without Cordero Patterson doing much with this offense, this team's somewhat deep at wide receiver. They like the speed they have, and they like the depth they have. 2 guys at the bottom of the 53-man roster, I think, going forward, Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen, had great camps, not just on special teams, but being able to show off the route running, the hands, the reliability that you need in this offense, and specifically, too, with the speed that they have in this receiving core. The Vikings want to utilize those yards after the catch, and if they can get somebody who can run a crisp, clean route, it's all about timing routes, quick timing routes, we didn't see much of the deep ball in training camp. I mean, obviously in one-on-ones we'd see some stuff, but in full team drills, a lot of it was timing routes. And Norv Turner wants to spread the field, obviously, and get him downfield. But I think a lot of it's going to depend on the reliability and the timing. And if Cordero can't pick that up, he might just be a kick returner and a gadget guy. We'll see. But there's plenty of other guys, too, that can do these kind of gadget plays that Cordero was so good at. Mike Wallace, Jarius Wright, there are plenty of options on this team. And it's pretty clear at this point that Cordero might not leapfrog Charles Johnson for that starting split end spot. I wrote a story earlier in training camp about Cordero saying that he's owning up to his mistakes, wanting to take a different approach, but it's going to take him being a different player on the field and being a refined receiver for anything to actually happen. Otherwise, it's all talk. And so at this point, it's Charles Johnson, Mike Wallace, Jarius Wright is your 3 wide receiver set, and Cordero, even without him, they still seem pretty deep. That 5th-round pick in Stephon Diggs looks like a good one at this point in the offseason, and obviously Adam Thielen has taken what he did last year and has built on that, and he looks like a more refined receiver as well and a reliable target for Teddy Bridgewater. So this team's got receiving options. Obviously, they got tight end options with Kyle Rudolph. They got Adrian Peterson back. So the big question is going to be that offensive line. Keep an eye on guys like Matt Khalil, Brandon Fusco moving over to the left side, Mike Harris at that right guard spot. There's going to be a lot to watch for on this offense. And we didn't even talk much about the defensive battles that are going on at middle linebacker and strong safety, where Antone Exum, Robert Blanton, and Andrew Sendejo are all competing for that 3rd spot. I saw Antone Exum, a second-year guy who was a converted corner out of college, drafted in the 6th round last year. He got some reps next to Harrison Smith at this final practice here in Mankato, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a very long run on Saturday as the Vikings try to sort out who's going to be that starting safety next to Harrison Smith. Well, guys, that's all I have for you here at 1500ESPN.com. I want to thank you again for joining me. Please check back to the website for more articles, videos, podcasts, everything. Thanks a lot.